I have always been more of a visual person. My love for art and drawing has always been at the forefront of my consciousness and how I understood the world around me. However, my imaginative brain folds were constantly running on overdrive, making my reality buzz with my characters and my stories. Spending my days daydreaming and bringing them to life through childish drawings or disassociative escapades away from the unfanciful realities of a small-town kid growing up in mid-Michigan. In the world I existed in, no one had superpowers, no one got their letter to Hogwarts, no prophecies or quests were given, no adventures were to be had, which is why I found my second home in the books I read, soaking up each word as if it were personally written for me. Through the words I inhaled, I experienced the extraordinary by the turn of a page, which is when I realized that there is such a power to be wielded in my reality, not as mighty as a sword or wand. In fact, this magic could be wielded by something as measly as a ballpoint pen. The emotions that were brandished into the pages I was reading were made by someone. The writers of my favorite books were able to make me visualize and experience their worlds as if I was there myself. I could feel the joy, triumph, anger, and sadness with every slurp of a word. It wasn't long till I realized I could do this too. Anyone could conjure this magic with details, descriptions, and imagery. For example, I could say, there's an apple. Mostly everyone knows what an apple looks like. But what if I wrote the sentence like this? There was a perfectly round apple sitting on your mother's kitchen counter. It was a deep red with a wash of yellowish brushstrokes, like a painter had intentionally placed them there. You can't help but notice, but the more you observe the fruit, you start to crave something deep from within, in the pits of your hollow stomach. Was it hunger? Or some lost known human instinct, wanting to claw the crimson skin of the apple between your teeth, to quench your thirst for knowledge of something forbidden? See what I'm saying? I can make anyone feel that, or at least something through the short passage, which is why I started to write, putting my thoughts into letters, putting them into words, till I had full stories that I wanted to share with everyone, because I was so proud. Between elementary and middle school, I won small awards for my creative writing, even started writing stories with friends. I enjoyed sharing my creations with the world in ways I couldn't always do through art. But sometimes, not everyone wants you to share those stories. As I got older and was thrown into the trenches of high school, I slowly stepped back from writing. I don't know if it was because of the lack of time, or it wasn't a focus in the curriculum. But I remember we had a project called the Island Paper, where you wrote a short story about a group of people trapped on an island. I stayed up for days writing this paper, putting everything I had into it. I was having fun and wrote 16 pages when the minimum was only 10. I was so proud of it, and it made me happy to write something a little bit for me again. So I shared it with someone who I cared about, and was hopeful for them to read it and like it. But they started reading it, and my hope died. They read it like it was some joke and mocked it to my face. At the time, I tried to laugh it off because some of the parts of my story were silly. But anytime I wrote something story-based, the mocking was either worse or they didn't seem to care for it. I stopped sharing my stories and stopped even trying to write them, because it felt strange and foreign to even try. I put writing aside and focused more on my art, because maybe it was because it didn't deserve as much of an explanation. I could hide behind it just a little bit. Years went by and I maybe only wrote a little for myself, maybe no more than a paragraph. But for the first time in a long time, after a year of loss and heartache, I pulled my laptop to me, opened a Word document, and just started writing again. I felt that magic in my fingertips. Staying up late for weeks on end, writing for the hell of it, not realizing what I was doing was giving myself power, taking all the feelings and sewing them into my words. Like grabbing raw nerve endings, I started to write. I wrote a lot to myself, but one of the most important lines I wrote were, "You are enough." And for the first time, I used this power to make me believe that I was. I always thought writing was supposed to make others feel something. That's why I thought good writers were some mystical beings with a typewriter. However, writing has gifted me the power to take hold of my story, to believe in myself, and to believe I can be a better person. That may sound tacky, but this ability is only laughable if you don't try. With writing, you can offer the world to anyone in the palm of your hand. Poetry, adventure, suspense, love, perhaps even some dragons or hobbits mixed between monologues. Writing lets you explore the world and yourself, and I think that is pretty extraordinary.